All right, hello everyone and all of our Texas Arts advocates. I'm here with Ann Graham for our weekly Wednesday Arts Advocacy Update. So Ann, I'll throw it to you.
Great, thank you. It's Kylie, Associate Director of Texans for the Arts. As you said, this is our weekly Wednesday Arts Advocacy Update, and we've been focusing on issues that are coming up in the 87th Texas Legislative Session. So every week it's a little bit different, and today we're really excited to have a special guest. We knew the theme today was going to be music therapy. Original guest couldn't make it, so you might have seen the name of Jennifer Townsend on Facebook. She's busy being a musical therapist right now and couldn't make it, so we have just another stellar person who can join us today at the 11th hour, so we're really excited. I'd like to introduce Janice Lindstrom, who is she's a music therapy lecturer at SMU in Dallas. And she is the government relations representative of the Southwest region of the American Music Therapy Association. And I first really got to know the music therapy community 2 years ago in the 86th session when they were working to put through what's called a licensure bill. And I was so impressed not only with what I know music therapy is all about and art therapy in general, but with how well organized they were and what a committed group of advocates really doing everything right that you need to do in terms of advocacy to make your issue alive in the Texas legislature and to earn support. So what I would want to hear from Janice today is, one, a little bit about what music therapy is and why it's important. Two, very importantly, they have a bill, both a House bill and a Senate companion bill, working again to try to get licensure. Why is that important? What does the bill do? And then sort of a general wrap up if there's any other things that come out of that conversation. But this is a really important issue, heightened by the pandemic that we're in. We already knew that the arts can play a significant role in health and public health and mental health. With seniors, with children, with military veterans and active duty. There's so many ways that the arts can have an impact, and music in particular. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Janice to extend that and amplify that message, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the 87th session and what you as an advocate can also do to help. Janice?
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here today. And so music therapy is the use of music and how it affects the human brain for the rehabilitation of speech and language, cognition, motor skills, social and emotional needs. And I think we all sort of instinctually know how music is therapeutic. A lot of us use music therapeutically for ourselves. We listen to music when we feel sad, and then it helps us to maybe express our sadness and feel understood, and then we feel better. Or it helps to get us energy and set the right mood for our next activity, whatever that might be, sleeping or partying or exercising and working out. So we all use music in ways that influence our body, but music therapists learn how music actually physically affects our neurology and our physiology and our psychology, and our spirituality. We study all of that, the whole person, so that we can understand how we might use music to help people that would need help from a therapist. So I work with adults who have Alzheimer's, so that they can orient to reality and have meaningful relationships with their loved ones, even though their ability to function and remember has declined. Music is stored in, we overlearn music because of its repetitive and highly formulated nature. It's predictable. And so it's stored in deep areas of the brain that we can still connect to even when we start to lose our faculties with something like dementia. So there's been a lot of research done on how it affects the human body and brain. And music therapists learn how to take that information and apply it in a therapeutic setting and establish goals and objectives so that the patient can achieve the level that they wish to achieve. So 2 sessions ago, or
No,
I was going to say that the bill from the 80s legislature was a study bill. So we wanted to study whether there was a need for licensure in the state of Texas, or which, if state recognition was necessary of our credentialing, which kind would best suit it. And those bills did not pass in the last session. And so over the interim, the music therapists that I'm working with we decided to do the study ourselves. We would do what the bill would have done. We didn't have some of the external stakeholders involved, but we basically did the work that would have been asked of that committee to study whether there is a need for licensure. And so what we determined was that there are enough instances of harm in people who are using music with the best of intentions, but they're not trained to look for the types of responses to music that music therapists are trained to look for, to recognize when their musical choice might be causing harm. So an example of that would be like a baby in the neonatal intensive care unit. We have to be very careful about these newborns born prematurely, who are still developing, and they would have developed in the womb, but now they were born prematurely, and so they're very sensitive to any kind of stimulation that they might receive. And if they're in an isolate and hooked up to monitors and medications and feeding tubes and things like that that are helping to respirators, things that are helping to keep them alive, one of the only ways that the parents can really interact and provide some stimulation with that child is through hearing. And it's very normal to sing lullabies or other songs that are important to our babies. It's how we soothe them. And the way that infants develop language and start to communicate with us is a very musical way. You know, they're just babbling and making sounds. And when we respond to them, we use a more musical tone in our voice. And so all of that is very important for the neural development of the child. And if you are not trained to recognize when the child is overstimulated, then you can do a lot of really serious neurological and physiological damage. And so it's instances like that we feel it's important to protect the consumers and the patients of music therapy, to make sure that they're getting services by fully qualified people. And that's the reason why we're seeking licensure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And these bill numbers, House Bill 2473 and Senate Bill 1452, have they been through a committee? Have there been public hearings? Actually, yes, there were. I'm remembering now. I attended the public hearing. I just remembered that, and testimony was given.
Yes.
Yep. And do you know where the status of that bill
was? So House Bill 2473 was in the Public Health Committee, and we had the hearing last week, and we're waiting for it to receive a vote to go to the Calendars Committee so that it can be scheduled for a vote on the full floor. So our ask is that people contact their Texas representative to support House Bill 2473 so that they're ready to vote yes when the time comes. Senate Bill 1452 has been assigned to the Business and Commerce Committee. And so we are waiting for a hearing to be scheduled. So we're asking that everyone contact their senators, their Texas senators, to ask for support for Senate Bill 1452, particularly if you live in a district where your senator is a member of the Business and Commerce Committee.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to sort of have a call to action here. Texans for the Arts does support this effort and certainly supports the work of music therapy and arts therapy. So if you don't know who your representatives are, there's sort of two things I'm going to tell you. One, if you go to Who Represents Me, just Google Who Represents Me and you put in your name and address, it will pull up a list of who is your state senator, who's your state representative. Usually it has Congress as well. And as you just heard from Janice, if you would contact your state House representative and ask them to support House Bill 2473 and to help nudge it into the calendars committee so that it is heard, that's one call to action. And the other is to contact your state senator and ask for a hearing to ensure that it gets to the Business and Commerce Committee for a hearing, Senate Bill 1452. Another interesting piece, if you really want to dig deeper into the legislature, there's something called TLO, or Texas Legislature Online. You can Google that. It's free. And you can look up on there, you register, you can look up bill numbers, you can look up the committees, as Janice just said. You could go to the Business and Commerce Committee, you could click on members and you would pull them all up and you can see whether one of those people is a member of, is your representative or your senator. That's the most important connections you can make. Being a constituent matters. And that's the heart and soul of so much of the advocacy that we do. It's connecting with your officials because you vote and they represent you and they work for you and they want to hear from you actually. So a great way, find out who's representing you if you don't already know. Register on TLO, do a little digging, find out who's on these committees and how and whether or not they represent you. If they're not on their committee, you can still call them and say to please support these bills. So House Bill 2473 and Senate Bill 1452. So with that, this has been just a sort of a short snippet. As usually we have about 15 minutes for our weekly Wednesday update. Janice, any other thoughts or comments on the power of music therapy that you would like to share?
Well, I would just encourage anyone that has any questions about music therapy, if you could reach out to me, if you want to find me on the internet. I'm around with my actual name on most social media. So reach out to me and I'm happy to answer questions, but you can also contact the American Music Therapy Association at musictherapy.org.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I remember watching a documentary film, a very beautiful movie, which some of you might have seen, called I Remember Better When I Paint. That's painting, not music, but it's about a famous French painter who had developed Alzheimer's and didn't paint for 10 years. And after 10 years, her daughter put a paintbrush in her hand and she started to paint again. And it's a really interesting look at working with Alzheimer's and dementia patients with the arts. And again, music therapy and art therapy, there's dance therapy, but it really is how music, just think about how important music is in our lives. We remember music from school dances, from romances, from weddings, from funerals, from, so many places. Music just takes you right back to a place in time. Such a powerful thing. And I know there's so many other ways that music is used in therapy, even right now in hospitals with COVID. Some really, really important work, mental health as well. So dig a little deeper into the role that music therapy might play in your life and your family's life. And I want to thank Janice Lindstrom for joining us today. And we really appreciate being able to give a forum to this really important issue. So thank you.
Thank you.